I love you.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Mike Hughes, and you're listening to Mike on the Mic and everything Chicago sports related podcast. We are back and we are better than ever. It is March 8th, 2024. And once again, Anthony Davis has sold me on a parlay. So I said, you know what? Forget about it. We got our no offseason cap on. I'm excited about it. We're going to be doing a Bears therapy session. Obviously, we normally do our Bears live therapy sessions during the season, post games, pre games. We always talk about it throughout the week. But I felt like doing one tonight. I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on right now around the league. There's a lot of different conversations. A lot of people don't know how to feel about the state of the Chicago Bears right now. There's so much optimism, yet so much uncertainty. And I think that's one of the beauties of what this offseason has been is there's so much content to create. If you're a content creator, you know damn well you spend hours and hours and days trying to think about stuff for the week to come out with. For the Bears, it's easy. I could make 3 videos with Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. I can make 3 videos with Caleb Williams and Malik Neighbors, or Justin Fields and Marvin Harrison Jr., Justin Fields and Malik Neighbors. You know, there's so many different ways it can go. I've seen so many different stories. What's going on, Twan? Appreciate you for hopping in the pod. Appreciate you for being here, man. If you're new here, make sure you smack that follow button. We're going live all the time. You can check us out on the Give Us a Shot Network 24/7 or at theshy.kid on Instagram and on TikTok. But with that being said, let's get into it. Let's have a real conversation today. I saw a couple tweets that were a little interesting to me. Just on Bears Twitter, man, just looking at things. And Russell Wilson is expected to be on one of the cheapest veteran quarterback deals of 2024 due to the fact that the Broncos owe him over $100 million. So someone made the argument and said, if the Chicago Bears draft Caleb Williams, could they sign Russell Wilson on a 1-year deal to try to get him to mentor a guy like Caleb under Shane Waldron, a former Seattle Seahawk co-star of Russell Wilson in 2021, and mentor him in 2024? Obviously, Russell Wilson will take over the reins. He'll play for the Bears as QB1, and Caleb will learn in year 1 under Wilson. I don't think this is, listen, and a lot of people are going to say no. A lot of people are going to say Russell Wilson is a team cancer, or Russell Wilson's washed, or all these different things. But I will say this about Big Russ. Whether you believe in him or not, statistically speaking, he had a better season last year than Justin Fields. Like, statistically speaking, last year, Russell Wilson had 3,070 passing yards, 26 passing touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not Broncos country, let's ride, but it's definitely not the worst season he could have had. Obviously, the majority of the miscommunications between him, Sean Payton, and the Denver Broncos organization, and that locker room were just mentality, I feel like, and they're just tired of putting up with him. But with that point, do I think it is a good idea? No. But do I think it's in the realm of possibility? I don't see why not. Um, I think at the end of the day, what you need to do if you're the Chicago Bears is figure out who your face of the franchise is going to be. You know what I mean? And when in 21st century, the year 2024, the question isn't who the face of the franchise is. It's what position you want it to be. If you want to win a Super Bowl, your face of the franchise, more times than not, is the quarterback of your team. Unless you're the 49ers and it's Christian McCaffrey. But even Brock Purdy got MVP votes this year. You know what I mean? So I think that's really the conversation. In our last dance, we ran with Matt Nagy and Khalil Mack and all these different guys, Vic Fangio. In 2018, Khalil Mack was the face of the franchise. It wasn't Mitchell Trubisky. And if you think it was, you're crazy. You know what I mean? So I think, and when you look at the years before that, Devin Hester, Brian Urlacher, Peanut Tillman, guys like that, it's really one of those things for me where it's like, you have to go out there and understand that the smash mouth defense monsters of the Midway of old just isn't going to get it done. It's not. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I watched in my lifetime, I watched Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers go to NFC championship after NFC championship and just had, I'm not going to say they were subpar defenses, but they weren't the monsters of the Midway. You know what I mean? But like that speaks volumes to where you're at right now. I see Jordan Love, who's been great. You know what I mean? Look at the Packers defense this year. They were solid. But at the end of the day, Jordan Love was what carried them and prevailed them into the playoffs this year. But with that being said, let's get into it. Let's have a real conversation because I hear what everybody's talking about. I hear the noise of Caleb Williams. I hear the noise of Justin Fields. I think at the end of the day, where I'm really at is you need to trade the number 1 overall pick and Justin Fields and trade for Mitchell Trubisky. No, let me stop. Let me chill out. Please don't leave. Please don't leave. Please don't leave. Please don't leave. Nah, bro. But in all seriousness, man, I think the problem for me is like I watched Justin Fields in college. You know what I mean? I saw him and Trevor Lawrence be that 1A, 1B, dual threat guys that you can believe in at being number 1 overall picks. Now, obviously, Justin fell in that board. He was supposed to go from number 2 overall behind Trevor Lawrence to all the way to 11. And there were several different reasons I think that happened. But, I think at the end of the day, what's most interesting about the Caleb Williams situation is it's kind of similar to Fields as it pertains to the draft stock. It's like I could definitely see him dropping, but he's so much of a different talent than Fields, and I don't think people understand that. Like, listen, if you follow college ball, then you know exactly what I'm about to say. There is no comparison to the individual stats that Justin Fields and Caleb Williams put up in college. If you look at a team record, yeah, Justin Fields balled out in the college playoffs. He went to a national championship. He won way more than a guy like Caleb Williams. But individually, Caleb Williams, what, 93, 97, something like that, passing touchdowns, over 10,000 passing yards, over what, 27 rushing touchdowns, over 960 rushing yards in 3 seasons in the Pac-12. I understand you lost to Utah. I understand you lost to Oregon and places like that, man. But, we talk about it all the time. We've been talking about it, on iHeartRadio Studios, on Give Us a Shot Network. We've been talking about it, in Chicago. I've been talking with fans. I've been talking with former players. I've been picking the brain of so many different people. And the problem is everybody kind of feels the same way. It's one of those things where maybe Caleb Williams is 10 times more talented than Justin Fields. Maybe he is. Like, let's be real. Maybe he is. But one thing is for sure is if you've ever played any level of sports, whether that's collegiate, professional, pro ball, maybe just pee-wee, whatever, you want to fight for your guys. You want your guys to believe in these guys. You know what I mean? And I think one of the biggest things for me is really just breaking down how much guys want to fight for Justin Fields. If you haven't seen the videos I've posted already, I think the big thing for me is hearing DJ Moore vocally say, yeah, I like Caleb, I like Drake, Jaden, whoever, but I don't think they're better than Fields. He said vocally, I want Justin Fields. And after having a career year in his first year with Justin Fields, you could stand on that. After hearing Jalen Johnson say, listen, we would all feel some type of way if he wasn't the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. Like, I hear what everybody's saying because somebody said right here, our goal this season is to make the playoffs. Our goal this year is to expand what we've been able to already do and do it at a winning level. You know what I mean? You lock in Montez, lock in JJ, you lock in DJ Moore and all these other cats. You have all the draft capital, all the money in the world. That's great. But now you have to start to win. Just like the Lions last year. Lions had a great year in 2022. 2023, were they going to go to the playoffs? And they did. And they won a playoff game. Multiple. Two. But, I think that's the point. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool to say we have all this potential in the world, but what the fuck are you going to do with it? Are you just going to be wasted potential? Or are you actually going to win something? And I think that's the big picture for me, where it's like we sit here today and we say guys like Jalen Johnson and DJ Moore, the captains of the offense and the defense, want to fight for Justin Fields. They want to go to war for him. They want to keep him. But here's the thing. It's all flowers and daisies if you want to run through a wall for a guy. As a player, I respect it. As a man, I respect it. But at the end of the day, is that all you're going to do is run through that wall? Are you ever going to get through that wall? Are you ever going to climb over it, under it, around it, through it? Are you ever going to be able to get over that hump and win with Justin Fields? And that's what Ryan Poles has to ask himself right now. That's why this conversation's taking so long. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's Justin Fields or not, the guy he selects can't just be average, you know what I mean? Or above average. You need to be an elite level quarterback. It's just what it is in today's game. That's not even just because for Bears fans. I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, Bears fans deserve it. No, like, that's just what it is. Like, you need an elite level quarterback or you're not going to win a championship, period. And you know who can answer that question right now? Kyle Shanahan. Kyle, why did you lose in the Super Bowl? Oh, because Brock Purdy was great all season long, but couldn't win the big one because the guy he was going up against is the greatest quarterback in the NFL and arguably one of the greatest of all time. That's what it comes down to. My man Patrick Mahomes took Kadarius Toney and Rice in his rookie year to a Super Bowl. Like, and going up against Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Kyle Shanahan, the Bosas, and all these different guys on the defense. George Kittle, I mean, the Deebo Samuel, the list goes on. Why was he able to prevail? He's got Patrick Mahomes. He's fucking Patrick Mahomes at the end of the day. Like, that's what it comes down to. So, yeah, I hear everybody, you know what I mean? Like, it's a great conversation about could Fields potentially be great? And I think he has the potential to be great. I saw one take earlier today saying, I just actually posted it. If you haven't checked out that video yet, guy said, yeah, I don't even want to get into who he is because it doesn't matter. But he basically said on the air with a microphone that the Philadelphia Eagles should trade for Justin Fields and have him be a running back behind Jalen Hurts. Oh, horrible. I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Seattle, or LA or what have you. But you're going to sit here and tell me that in year 4 on a contract year, the all-time quarterback who's been a quarterback his whole life is just going to be like, yeah, man, I'd love to just be a running back for this trash team without Jason Kelce. Crazy. I'm good, bro. If I'm Justin Fields, I block that man on Twitter immediately. And Denny right here has a great comment. Mitchell Trubisky outperformed Justin Fields with less. Now, from a passing quarterback perspective, I think that is a very accurate statement. And I think if you disagree with that statement, it's just unfortunately what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a Fields fan, and I was a Trubisky fan. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, I still am. But I think one thing about Mitch was Mitch could get the ball in the end zone. Maybe not all very consistently, but he could. You know what I mean? That's something that Justin, throughout his first 2 years, really struggled with. And you can blame that on Dante Pettis and Velus Jones and Byron Pringle and Chase Claypool, and that's perfectly fine. You can do that. And you could make an argument and say, well, when he targeted DJ Moore, he was 8-0 in touchdown interception ratio, over 1,300 yards. Cole Kmet was great as well, too. I mean, yeah, I think at the end of the day, like, you can make an argument and say things are getting better for sure. But you also have to, if you're basing it off of statistics, Mitchell Trubisky from a passing perspective was 10 times better. But I will say this, Justin Fields is light years better of a running quarterback than Mitchell Trubisky was. So, you know what I mean? You got to give and take with that at the same time. Kylo says, what do the Bears do with the first round pick? For me right now, this is my personal bias. I think here's my thing. And we got what 53 people in here. I want everybody commenting I'm either a bozo or that you could kind of hear where I'm coming from with it. I don't want people just like listening to what I got to say and then just ignore it. Like, please let me know if you think I'm tweaking because I have this conversation with myself 24/7. When I break down the number one overall pick, I think what it comes down to is a solidification in which the guy you're getting is going to be a sure thing. The NFL is a lot of questions. A says I'm a bozo before I even said anything. You're probably right. But when you look at that and you go, okay, number one overall pick, you have to get it right. This needs to not only be a good pick, but a generational talent. I've heard a lot of questions about Caleb, but one guy I haven't heard a single doubt about is Marvin Harrison Jr. Caleb could be the next Patrick Mahomes or he could be the next Jay Cutler. That's real. So if I'm the Chicago Bears and I have the number one overall pick, I go for the sure thing. I trade back to 2 or 3 and I draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Whether that's at 2 or 3, I think you have to because that is the sure thing. You have to. Like, forgive me if you're a Caleb fan. Forgive me if you're a Jaden fan or a Drake fan. But I think when you look at that and say Marvin's put up this body of work in the Big Ten, amazing career. Sure, yeah, he had CJ Stroud and company, and that's fine. But I mean, you have to sit up there and tell yourself if you compare the two, Marvin Harrison Jr., Caleb Williams, who's the sure thing at number one? If you had to, and not even just trade back at 2 to 3, if you had to today, you have to pick number one overall, Marvin or Caleb. Who you taking? I'm taking Marvin 10 times out of 10. And I think like you have to break that down and understand that this isn't just one of the best wide receivers out of this year's draft class. This is arguably one of the best wide receivers in the last decade coming out of the draft class. Better than Jetta's, better than Jamar Chase. Like this guy has a resume. I'm not saying he's going to be better than them. I think he has the potential to be better than them if he stays healthy. But I think at the end of the day, man, if you are so sure on Caleb Williams, by all means go for it. But if you have any doubt in your mind that he might not pan out or he might not be the guy that he led up to be at the combine, smiling, cheering, saying how much he would love to be a Chicago Bear, listen, I'll tell you what, and I'm going to keep it a bean. I'm not on ESPN 1000. I'm not on 670 The Score. I'm on fucking TikTok. I could keep it a bean. Caleb Williams' dad, to me, is a problem I don't want to deal with if I'm a general manager. Because, like, here's my thing, right? And as a father, as a son, dude is amazing. Get your son paid. Get your son partial ownership. Get your son everything you want him to be and more. But when I see Caleb Williams not have an agent, his father is his agent with no law degree, with no business degree. The man is just his agent, like Lamar Jackson's mom. When it comes down to the re-signing of Caleb Williams 4 years from now, and his dad wants $300 million, it's like, bro, like, or maybe even more at that point. You know what I mean? We don't know what the market's going to look like 4 or 5 years from now. But it's going to be interesting. Twan, I saw that comment, the Schwarber rule. I haven't been able to work on it yet. I've just been so busy. I have to cut it down. I have to get a little saw and cut it down a little bit to shape it so it can fit in the corner. I'm gonna try to get that done soon though. Maybe I'll try to get that done tomorrow, low key. Anthony said Lamar's getting paid though. Lamar is definitely getting paid, and Lamar obviously had an MVP season again this year, so it was worth it. But my point of that is like toxic conversations. You've already heard the toxicity of what Caleb Williams' camp is potentially like. You're slowly hearing cracks about, what he needs and how he needs to be catered to and this, and that. And that's perfectly fine. But it's like at the end of the day, bro, Marvin Harrison Jr. to me is that guy. His dad beat us in the Super Bowl in 2006. Marvin Harrison Jr. was there to watch the Bears get beat. He was there to watch Devin Hester run one back. Like that's a story. You know what I mean? And that's a guy who I would want to change that narrative. You know what I mean? From being there when the Bears lost the Super Bowl to helping the Bears win one. That's a magical story. Like that's sick. That is absolutely sick. And like, yeah, and to everybody's comments, you know what I mean? Like, again, would I want Caleb Williams to be my dad, or Caleb Williams' dad to be my dad? Of course. He's a good dad from what I can tell. He's a great dad. He's in his son's life and he's trying to market him to the best of his ability to make him the number one overall pick in this year's draft and to get him the highest percentage of salary that he could potentially get him. That's amazing. But if I'm a general manager, I would rather talk to a legitimate agent than talk to somebody's dad. You know what I mean? Like there's so much bias that goes into that. You know what I mean? There's no middle ground. There's no business aspect to it. All power to him though. You know what I mean? Lamar Jackson and his mom got it done. You know what I mean? Roquan Smith has no agent. He got it done. But I think when you saw those things happening, especially with Roquan, things got ugly very fast. And that's usually what happens. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, okay, well, fine. If you don't, I feel like when a player receives a number, I feel like they feel disrespected. I think sometimes when there's that middleman, there's a lot less disrespect. You know what I mean? I think when a GM talks to an agent, they say what they need to say. They have a real conversation. And then that agent goes back and gives them the number and gives them a rundown without everything else. You know what I mean? But when it's just player and GM and they're breaking it down, listen, we love you, but you're not good at this, this, and this. So why should I pay you this? But he says, I'm good at this, this, and this. So you should pay me this. Like you kind of ruin that relationship. You know what I mean? So I think that I definitely hear both ends of it. I definitely hear all the conversations. I definitely think like we talked about earlier when the show started, we were talking about like Russell Wilson. If you draft Caleb Williams, could you sign Russell Wilson to a cheap deal and have Caleb learn under Shane and Russell and Shane have a great relationship from 2021? One, you don't know if they had a great relationship, and two, no, like, like no, I'm good, bro. Like I said, 26 touchdowns, 3,000 yards passing, 8 interceptions. Wilson had a solid year last year, and that's not the reason he got canned by the Broncos. The reason he got canned was because no one wanted to deal with him. You know what I mean? Like this is Chicago. We might fuck with Sierra, but we ain't gonna mess with you, bro. Like, let's be real. I heard Brandon Marshall say if he goes to Pittsburgh, Brandon's gonna take him to the hood, like, because Brandon's from there. Excuse me. But yeah, man. I mean, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm not quite sure, but I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you guys are new here, make sure you hit that follow button. Join the community. I'm super excited to be covering Bears every single day, all the way up to the draft, all the way up to preseason, all the way up to opening day. It's going to be a lot of fun. Until then, I'll check you guys out on the next one. Be safe, be lovely. Make sure to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at theshy.kid. Until then, peace. I love you.